Sunday night.
What's up, Love Your Talkers? Love Your Talk is back, baby. After a short hiatus, we're here to dish the dirt on all things living abroad in your late 20s. Almost early 30s. We are here every single week bringing unique content to get you through what seems like the longest lockdown ever. But before we start, just the heads up that no topic is off limits for this podcast. So if that's not your cup of tea, well then, your loss. You were warned. Hey, Ollie!
What's
How
up,
are
Maggie?
you?
I cannot believe we are back here. Almost a year. Well, almost a year to... No. I was going to say almost a year to the day since Labia Talk's inception. But I think that was back in March 22, I think.
Pretty much. I think we've just missed our anniversary by 1 week.
How's it
But that's
going,
not
Maggie?
bad.
Are you good?
I'm doing fabulously well. Thank you very much. How are you, Ollie?
I'm excellent. For people who might be curious or might be wondering where in the world I am, I'm actually in Rio de Janeiro, a place that I've wanted to live for a long time, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
Oh, I know. I can't believe you're actually living the dream. It's amazing. I was literally just watching a show, I told you, the other weekend. Michael Palin in South America. And he was in Rio de Janeiro, basically living your life. I was like,
I know. When I
pointing at the screen. I was pointing at the screen to my mum and I was like, oh, I've been there. Oh, I've been there. Oh, I've been there. And then there was a sex hotel. I was like, no, I haven't been there. But Ollie's been there.
Michael Palin was literally living my dream like 7 years ago. Horny
Yeah.
bastard.
Aw.
Should we cheers to him and cheers to Labia Talk's return?
Woohoo! Cheers!
Yeah.
Clinking sound. We're going to pretend.
I've got Budweiser. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Pacifico,
Oh,
which is a
sounds great.
delicious beer from Mexico
Lovely.
that I was surprised I managed to find in my local Sainsbury's.
Oh, yeah.
So
Woo,
I
woo.
thought, why not?
Love
Little
to hear
reminder of my time there.
Yeah. So, Labia Talkers, it's great to be back and we're excited to bring you content each week. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, Labia Talk has a bit of a different structure. So we've got a few segments and stuff. We're a bit serious now, Maggie.
Oh yeah, we've had a whole year to sort of grow and develop, haven't we? So, as you guys know, it's been a year of lockdown in pretty much everywhere in the world. And there's no doubt about it that isolation and quarantine have changed who we are and also who and when we want to meet people, if you know what I mean.
Wink, wink.
So, winky, winky. So, meeting people before the quarantine, of course, was like, yeah, no worries. But now, with the risks involved, how comfortable are we meeting friends for drinks and also random people for casual hookups? So today's main topic will revolve around this main question.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to get into that conversation because it's really big, and it's a really massive topic at the moment. I'm sure we have similar or different opinions when it comes to it because that's all you can have, similar or different opinions. But before we get into today's topic, we are going to give a shout out to one of our listeners. And today's shout out goes to Eduardo. And Eduardo is one of my friends that I met during YouTube. Like I started a YouTube channel back in August last year, and I met him through YouTube. And I received a message off him 2 weeks ago saying, "Hey Ollie, I'm really curious if Labia Talk is coming back. I miss you guys. I've listened to every episode, and I want you to come back." And he kind of with Maggie's help and, Maggie's found a new sense of inspiration to get this podcast back. So I think it's a great idea to get back into the podcast. And I want to thank Eduardo, who I hopefully will meet one day in person and not just behind a screen. So yeah, I hope he's listening and you enjoy that. And if you want us to shout you out, make sure you send us a message at Labia Talk Podcast, and make sure you share our podcast so that more people can know what it's like living abroad in your late 20s. And I think the content that we're going to come up with this new revamped Labia Talk is just going to be groundbreaking.
Absolutely. We're spreading, you guys spread the word with us, If you're listening in right now, give us, write to us and we'll shout you out. We'll shout out you. We'll shout out all your mates. We'll be calling in and asking the radio host to shout you out on your birthday.
Yeah. With that said, Maggie, what is today's burning question?
Ooh. So, our burning question. We're going to ask each other, who are you willing to break quarantine for? Or when are you willing to break quarantine?
Yeah, that's a really good
So
question.
under what?
I mean, having lived in, I mean, the reason Labia Talk started, I think, was, I think it was a week after Bolivia went into lockdown, and we realized that on the weekends we actually couldn't do anything. So living like 6 months of, because you left Bolivia in July last year, and like most of the time during that, like I hadn't had sex, and I think you were like,
The same.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We were really like careful, and I think like when you left, I think my life just, it was fun, but like you and our other friend that left, it left a big hole in my heart. So I think like at the start, I wouldn't break it for anyone. But like nowadays, I'm kind of very relaxed. What about you?
I've got to say that I feel pretty much the same as well. I think at the beginning, of course, when we started the podcast, we had just got into lockdown. Like you said, it was the week before. We were really obeying the rules. We were very strict about, staying at home. Stay at home would be the slogan, right? And that would come up on your like phone. And I guess it was the slogan sort of everywhere around the world was to, save lives, stay at home. And of course, it was far easier at the time as well, I've got to say. Thanks, darling.
Sorry.
Of course. So that's one thing that hasn't changed on Lab Your Talk. Like there'll be the occasional
Still
Ollie's
gross.
crude and foul sounds. But I have to say, after living in 3 different places during lockdown or during COVID, of course, like without a doubt, the best time was when I was locked down with you. So it makes it sound like we were locked down in some kind of sex dungeon.
We definitely
Or
were.
like don't worry, we definitely weren't. Or in some basement of some, oh God. Anyway, but hands down, that was my best experience. And to be honest, since then, it's been really more of a case of like, breaking lockdown as a coping mechanism. I don't know if you can even say that or if that's just like the irony is too much, but in a way, having seen people that I shouldn't have seen who are, not part of my household, has actually been really a necessity for me and has kept me a bit sane in the last 6 months or whatever.
I mean, and that goes on to selective quarantine, which I want to talk about a little bit later. Because I think like a lot of people these days are very selective on what they want to do, but we'll address that later. So
yeah, for sure.
Burning question, like I wonder if you're the same as me and Maggie, and you think that there are like some people that you would break quarantine for right now. I mean, I was going to say I'd break quarantine for anyone, and it's true.
For the right kind of company, I definitely would, you know.
Exactly right.
I mean, I think we both know what we're talking about. But yes, I'd say so. It really depends on the person. But also, I'm kind of curious to know, Ollie, like one of my questions as well is, I want to know, of course, quarantine here in London, like, we've been in quite a strict lockdown again. This is the 3rd lockdown that has happened in the UK. And it's far stricter than when I was in Merida only 2 months ago. And then I know, having moved to Rio, the laws or the measures are far more relaxed. And I want to know, like, what's the difference with, like, the quarantine restrictions in your city in Rio, and what effect they have had on your relationships, or even, on your connections and meeting other people. What effect have the restrictions in Rio had on you being able to go out and meet people? Or have there not really been many?
Yeah, I mean, that's a
in comparison to Belo Horizonte.
I mean, if we compare it to like a real country, as in like England or Australia, because like these countries have, the UK's had its own problems and it probably hasn't dealt with this situation very well. But like if we compare like Brazil to Australia, like Brazil's not a real country as the way they've handled it. I mean, they've got a denier for a president. And if there's any Brazilians out there that disagree with me, I think you're part of the problem.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Like, you've got a president who is basically saying if you get COVID, you're a homosexual or something like that. I mean, I'm a homosexual and I haven't had it. So,
You've had a few other things instead.
As far as like what effect quarantine restrictions have had like in my relationships and meeting people, well, first of all, I want to like be very clear that I'm not looking for a relationship at the moment.
No.
But like the restrictions here are basically, you know, you can't go to restaurants and everything. It's only takeaway, and that's pretty much the only restriction. So whenever I've been on the apps or I want to meet people, there's been no problem doing that. So
amazing. So
like,
can you go and grab like a drink in a bar with someone?
No, you can't.
Okay. But can you sit outside, like outside dining tables, for example, in a restaurant? Are they available?
No, you can't. So maybe like going back to like how does it affect my relationships or meeting people? Like when we talk about meeting people in my world at the moment, it's just basically for, you know, a bit of hanky-panky, you know?
You just go straight over to their house, don't you?
Yeah, I go to theirs, they come to mine. But
in a way, is that very different to how hooking up was for you pre-COVID, or not really?
No, it's exactly the same. There's no difference, and that's why like it kind of, you know, I work from home and everything is done at home, so it kind of like it doesn't really feel like I'm in lockdown because like on the weekend I can still go and ride my bike or walk to the beach. You can't swim in the beach because it's closed, but like I don't feel like I'm in lockdown. And if you, I was saying to my parents, sorry, hi mum and dad.
Oh, shout out!
I hope they're not listening.
And Dom. oh, you know, go them if they are. Come on, the Vidos.
No,
so
but
we last
I
each other's last name, so.
I was saying to them earlier, I was like, it doesn't, like, if you go out on the street, it, like, other than, like, some people wearing masks and some people not wearing masks, it doesn't feel like I'm in lockdown here. And it was very similar in Bolivia before I left Bolivia. Like, the only, you know, visual sign of feeling like you're in a lockdown is people wearing masks, but it hasn't really, like, for the first 6 months, yeah, but, like, after the first 6 months, it hasn't limited my ability to meeting people.
Okay.
And again, it goes back to our burning question, like, who are you willing to break quarantine for? And it's like, whatever, anyone.
Absolutely. When the mood takes my fancy. It's more like, I think the more burning question is when you're willing to break quarantine. Right? When you're ready.
I want to ask you, I want to flip the question back onto you. Has it like, because you've experienced 3 quarantines now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, because London has been like kind of crazy at the moment, like drastic measures.
Yeah.
What effect has it had on your relationships and meeting people?
Sure. So it is more difficult, definitely. I'd say it's maybe more similar to what wouldn't surprise you or come to as much of a shock to you, I guess, when you're hooking up with people, as you've already mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
So as I said, for me, this is not really like, if I'm going to meet somebody, usually I'd go and meet them for a drink maybe, or we'd go for a walk somewhere. Of course, you can walk, like parks are open, obviously. Open spaces are perfectly open. But of course, you can't go to a bar and grab a drink or even go for a meal or anything like that. So that's definitely made meeting people a little bit more challenging. Along with the fact that even hotels are closed. Hotels, Airbnbs are closed, or, you know, they're illegal if they are running. So it's virtually impossible to really meet anybody unless you're going to go straight to their house.
That raises a good point, actually. Like, is it more dangerous this way, or are we becoming... Like, does it mean like there's more sex happening because people are like, you just like, you skip the first base and then you go straight to the second step? You know, like,
I think that's exactly what's happening.
As a woman, would you, because, you know, you're living, you know, at home at the moment. I think we can say that. Do you feel comfortable, like, having to, you know, skip step 1 and go straight to step 2 to that person's house if you were to meet up with somebody? Because, like, I know sometimes I don't feel comfortable going to that person's house because you don't fucking know them if you're going to meet them for the first time.
Exactly. No, I'm completely with you. But there's no way in hell I'd ever invite them to my house. Obviously, that's not an option.
Hi, Babs.
All the shout outs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everyone's been shouted out now. So we're even. Yeah, I guess I don't know. It's made me really definitely think about, it's made me more selective. It's made me more selective about who I want to meet up with because I genuinely need to be either really interested, either they've got to have something about them or they've got to, we've really got to hit it off and have, I don't know, a good connection. Otherwise, I don't, but at the same time, I feel comfortable meeting them because I know this is a universal situation here in London. And I know, having spoken to my friends who have broken quarantine for these reasons, that this is completely normal. Well, sorry, not breaking the quarantine. That's obviously not normal. And I'm sure a lot of people listening in may kind of disagree with what we're saying over here. But Lab Your Talk is all about opening and challenging perspectives.
Yeah, bitches. We said that there's no topic off limits.
Absolutely, not off limits. So, judge us all you like, but, everyone's entitled to their, own opinion. Anyway, I digress. But what I was trying to say is that I personally, I don't have a problem with, I don't feel unsafe going to somebody's. I more feel unsafe if I get a bad vibe off the person, right? As I'm sure you do. Like, sometimes you might be messaging someone, you're like, actually, you're a bit of a weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, I've never felt unsafe at someone's house. I felt uncomfortable, obviously, but I've never felt unsafe because, like, I am a horny devil, as people do know from if they've listened to this podcast. But I
or any other podcast. Your other one too, no?
I have a reputation there as well. No, I don't feel unsafe because, like, as I said, I normally invite the person to my house because I feel like I've got power there. Like, I can kick them out when I want. I'm not afraid to say to somebody, okay, it's time for you to leave.
Do you literally say that?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. Oh my God. Because I was literally having this conversation with my friend the other day. I was like, how do you ever bring the words or how do you word it to just kick somebody out? I would always come up with like an extravagant lie, like I've got to do this today.
No, well, I feel like I give pretty like clear body language vibes, and if they don't pick up on it, I'm just like, what the fuck? Well, like, what's your problem, cunt? Like, leave. Anyway,
yeah, then they're just strange.
Maggie, I want to go back to like the thing that you mentioned because like the question today is basically who are you willing to break quarantine for, and you mentioned about some people like they might think, is that illegal? No, is that like not the right thing to do? Have you had anyone like make comments to you or like have you lost friends over it? I mean, not lost friends, but like, is there somebody or are there people who don't do this?
Absolutely. Yeah, there are friends who I would never even have this conversation with. I would never even tell them that I have broken quarantine because
unless they listen to this podcast.
I know, isn't it funny that you just feel so much more comfortable just spewing shit like recorded and that's out there in the world than telling somebody face to face? What's up with that anyway? We're just strange, us humans. So I could never say these things to her face or to their face. But I know they would definitely judge me. Just as there are, like, I think lockdown has really brought out some really horrible sides in people, actually. Like, really, I think people who are masking themselves as empathetic and want, saying that, oh, actually, oh, look at me, I'm doing this. Oh, look at me, I'm doing this. And actually, they just come across as self-righteous. And to be honest with you, nobody really knows what's going through somebody's head, why they have reasons of breaking lockdown. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, Ollie, for me, it's been also a matter of like survival in a way and self-care, breaking quarantine, because otherwise I would have driven myself insane. These last 2 months since I've been back from Merida, living at home, have been an absolute nightmare in many ways. Like they felt like the longest 2 months of my life. So just being able to have somebody to talk to, being able to just, do things that we would have normally done outside of lockdown, organizing to meet up or like, organizing to do this and like flirting and that kind of stuff just has made me feel miles better. And like, I need that in my life.
No, I'm happy to hear that.
Oh,
And you always have me. I mean, we talk every day, but like, you always have me as a friend to like talk to and stuff like that. And I hope to see you. Actually, I really hope to see you down back here in South America soon because, like, Maggie, we can't have 50% of Labia Talk hosts not living abroad in their late 20s. It just doesn't work.
I know, I'm on a fucking like timer now as well, aren't I? Fucking time bomb. I've only got like 12 months counting.
That's true. And actually, I've never experienced like people saying, "Oh, you're breaking quarantine," but I have had people in my life who are selective quarantiners. Do you know what I mean by selective? I love how I'm CCQing you. Do you know what I mean by selective quarantine?
I'm not too aware of the term, Ollie, so can you please just clarify for me?
I mean, we spoke about this before, so Maggie is aware of it, but that's good. I like it.
But maybe for our listeners out there, who knows?
Yeah. No, so I want to give I feel like people are like selective quarantiners in the sense that they'll choose to go to some events, but they won't choose to go to other events. So, for example, some bars are actually open here in Brazil. Before, we're in lockdown, as of the last week or so. But before that, some bars were open. And, I would invite friends to come for a drink and they would say, oh, no, it's crowded. There's too many people there. But, the week later or 10 days later, they'd say, oh, hey, do you want to go to the beach or do you want to go to this bar? And I'm like, well, I invited you 10 days ago to go to this drink, to go to this bar for a drink. And now you're inviting me to, a similar situation. You're outdoors. You're mixing people. So I think like by selective quarantine, I mean, people are picking and choosing what they want to do, which is fine. But I just think it's an excuse not to go somewhere, some stages, some places. I mean, I think I'm being a bit of a bitch here because people are entitled to choose selective quarantine because at the end of the day, we are in the middle of a pandemic. But I don't know.
Absolutely. But I think it's very easy to also just use it as an excuse these days too. And to be honest, what is really the difference of being in on a crowded beach? It's just as bad as being, outdoors. Outdoors having a drink at some sort of outdoor bar, right?
Oh yeah.
So, just because one involves alcohol and the other one doesn't, maybe. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I feel like, my God, maybe I feel like COVID has turned a lot of people into a bit of a morality police.
But yeah, it has. But it's also what's the difference between, just say you're in South America and you were that friend who was selective and you didn't go to places. I would go to the bar the night before and then you say, oh, no, I'll see you tomorrow. And then you come over to my house the next day. I'm still going to spread it to you, right?
Absolutely.
What's the difference me spreading it to you than you getting it off someone else? I mean, we shouldn't joke about COVID because at the end of the day, it's killed a lot of people and it's people that I know, their family members have died and it's a tragic situation. And I guess I guess the idea of selective quarantine is it's probably not morally right to talk about, but I just think it's really exposed a lot of people.
I think so. And Ollie, I think, yeah, of course. But at the end of the day, we're also talking about, regardless of COVID or not, I think this has just given people maybe a little bit of an excuse of when to choose to meet up.
I mean, let's look at the positives of selective quarantine. I would definitely choose to have sex with somebody.
Oh, babe, 100%. I mean, that's the only thing I'm really breaking quarantine for. Hey, there we go. We've answered the whole question in one sentence.
I mean, we could have, this has been a 25-minute, 30-minute podcast, and we literally could have, we pretty much answered it in the first fucking 5 minutes. But you know what? It's so good to have Labia Talk back, And
I know.
Every week, Maggie and I have made a deal to each other that we are going to release content for you every single week because we want to see Labia Talk grow. I think how many weeks are there left in this year? I think if we can get to episode 40 by the end of the year, I think what episode is this?
This is 18, I think. 18, 17? 17. We're on 17. Wow.
Let's have a look. It is episode 17. Shit.
My
There you go.
goodness.
There you go.
We've got that's pretty impressive. Now look at you lucky bastards. You get to listen to Ollie's lovely voice and my lovely voice week in, week out.
And the audio quality is a lot better, thank God.
I know. Look, I mean, we had a whole year to work on it.
I've learned a lot. So anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure that you follow us on our socials. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Lab Your Talk Podcast.
Yeah, or if you want to be old school, write us an email. Our mailbox is waiting for you at labiotalkpodcast@gmail.com.
And also, we want to give a shout out to Emmy for our beautiful music and to Alejandro Gonzalez, a Boliviana, who made our logo, which we absolutely love. So thank you to those guys.
Woo!
And we thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Lab Your Talk Podcast. Catch you later, Maggie.
Catch you later. See you guys later. Bye-bye.